Welcome to Conversations Below the Surface, the CBS Podcast Shorts. I am your host, Marcus Gentry, and we hope you enjoy this episode. Do you recall going to a restaurant and the waiter or someone is pouring your drink, or maybe they're adding pepper to whatever meal you're having or something, and they'll look at you and say something like, "Say when," which means let them know when they should stop. Or maybe you're at someone's home and they're offering you something or giving you something from a dish, and someone says to you, "Just say when." And you have to be able to tell them when you're ready for them to stop. Well, this podcast short is going to dive a little bit deeper into that statement of when to say when. Now, I'm not sure if this is a skill, if it's about honesty, if it's about clarity, if it's about humility. But if you don't know when to say when in life, period, it can be very harmful for you and for other people possibly. Again, this is something that we might overlook, the skill or the ability or the wisdom to know when to say when. And I want to look at a few areas that this could be critical in. Let's start off with something simple, because I was just giving you an example of being in a restaurant. So let's talk about eating. Do you know when to say when? When enough is enough, just for your own sake. Restaurants, of course, a lot of times will have buffets or all-you-can-eat kinds of things, and it may tend to lead towards eating more, having more than you need to have. Do you know where to set the limits? Sometimes we're setting the limits based on where we were some time ago. So I used to like to eat until I was full some time ago, and when I was younger, it seemed to be okay. But when I got older, what I started discovering that my body doesn't process food as well when it gets full as opposed to when it's just satisfied. So I had to learn and have to continue to remind myself of when to say when, and not being able to do things just because that's what I used to do some time ago. It's just a matter of knowing when to say when. What about you? Have you noticed the change? What about when it comes to drinking? Do you know when to say when? When is enough enough? Is it when you have an altered state of awareness? Is it when somebody tells you you've had enough? When you can no longer comfortably feel you can walk straight or drive? When someone starts to tell you that you do certain things when you're drinking that's not becoming to you? When to say when? Again, our bodies process things much differently when we were younger than it does now. Do you now, today, with where you are, know when to say when? What about maybe just going out? Maybe you used to go out much when you were younger. Do you still try to go out like you did when you were in your teens, or maybe early 20s or earlier in life? Do you still try to do that now? Or do you know when to say when? I've gone out enough. I don't need to go out every weekend, or I don't need to go out every other night. Or do you know when to say when? I think about this when it comes to people in athletics. So I know examples of boxers who box beyond the time that they should have been in the ring, and they were still trying to prove that they could do what they used to do. They seem to not have that wisdom, that skill, that humility to know when to say when, and they entered back into the ring, and they had some difficulties. They had some problems because of that. And it can sneak up on you. I know there's been times when I've gone to the gym to exercise, and you'll always see somebody younger than you in there, and they may be lifting weights or doing something that maybe you used to do. Maybe you used to do more of it. And you get that feeling that maybe I can still do what I used to do, because you don't know when to say when. and you try to do that, and you can have an injury or cause a problem to yourself if you simply haven't asked yourself, when should I say when? Maybe it's now that I should dial it back. Or are you still trying to prove some sort of point? Are there things that you can do now that fits the age and time that you're in that would be more appropriate? It might be better for you, and it might be better for others around you. What about gambling? I'm not here to judge people who gamble, whether it's right or wrong. That's not what this is about. But you know when to say when. If you have a certain amount that you say, I'm going to gamble this amount, then that's where I'm going to stop at. You know when to say when. What about the use of social media? Do you have a limit? Do you know when to say when? I'm going to respond, or I'm going to read, or I'm going to watch Facebook, YouTube, whatever the social media, TikTok, whatever, Instagram, whichever one that you follow. Do you know when to say when, or do you have no limits on that? And have you considered what the consequences are of being overly engaged in social media or other people's lives? Watching TV. Do you know when to say when? What about something as simple as working your job? Do you know when to say when? There's some people who just work tirelessly, and they operate as if they left. They feel that if they left, that the job would just fall apart, it wouldn't be there, and they've got to be there, and they work and work and work, and they work themselves into a sickness in some cases, or exhaustion, or stressed out because they haven't learned when to say when. And that's not just for people on 9-to-5s. Sometimes us as entrepreneurs do the same thing. We go and go because we don't have anybody to stop us sometimes, and we don't even take the necessary breaks. I'm guilty of that, taking the necessary breaks, and I have to pull back and ask myself when to say when, and answer that question, and know when it's time to stop and dial back, so that I can be able to be effective, to function and operate another day. Again, none of this is to pass judgment, but it's to raise a question of awareness, so we can look a little bit closer at some of the things that we have overlooked, the simple questions, the simple statements like, do I know when to say when? And if you do, ask a friend if they do as well. Thank you for listening to this CBS Podcast Short. If you would like to hear more on this topic, please email me at respect@marcusgentry.com. And don't forget to check back for new episodes.